question. Well, first of all, a huge thank you to you and Steve and Karina, everyone that organized this meeting. As you said, John, every person that talked today had something really thought-provoking and interesting, so I took a lot of mental notes. Great meeting, so thank you for putting this together. In terms of healthcare and Amazon, I would say that we really have zero pretensions at the moment about healthcare. We're not a healthcare company, but part of my job is actually to look at all the new spaces that are possibilities for Amazon and see if we can contribute to that. And we're very humble, and if there's something that we can do that would make people's lives better, and hopefully we can touch a lot of people, we would certainly consider it. And just anyone in the audience, if you think there's something that Amazon should do because it has unique capabilities and assets, I would love to hear your opinion. Now, in terms of changes in the landscape, I do believe that medicine 10 years from will be very different from what it is today, and it has been in the past 10, 20 years. There's the financial forces in play that John very elegantly actually articulated on. I highly doubt that we'll end up spending 36% of our GDP on healthcare. It's 18% now, maybe it'll go up a little bit, but it is reaching a saturation point. So the income for a provider per patient is not going to go up, it's not going to double. So that changes a lot of things in terms of how we run things, for sure, because we're not going to keep increasing revenue. We have to operate better, offer healthcare at higher quality, but with lower cost. So there's all the cost components. I'm a 100% believer in the teledoc model. I think it's going to happen. It's inevitable because it actually brings something new to the table. We can capitalize on capacity that's not being used. We don't have doctors on the roads. We actually use their times very effectively. So it's a very, very sensible thing to do. I think it's going to happen. So I would definitely bet money on that one. But there's besides the financial aspects of this, there is another really huge trend happening right now in medicine, which is medicine fundamentally is becoming a quantitative science. If I look at medicine of 20, 30, 40 years ago, and think about how many things we actually measured, what were the real data points? We measured some things, we described a lot of things, and we knew a lot of things, but it was not fundamentally a quantitative science. And this is really changing right now. Some of it has to do with the High-Tech Act. I know that the Act has a lot of detractors, and a lot of people think that the $30 billion that we spend on EMRs was a waste of money. But then there's valid points about how it was executed. But if you think about it, just a span of a handful of years, what has happened is now we have a lot of information that we used to have on paper, completely inaccessible and unprocessable. Now that those portions of data are being collected every day, actually every second right now, and with some pain, but they are accessible. It's a very, very big deal. It's transformative. It's only 5 years old. It's very new, and I think this is gonna, going forward, really change medicine. And that's one part. So we know, and we will know a lot more what's happening in our healthcare system because of that. And then we have a lot more things to measure. And I know that, Derek, you have some concerns about measuring things and measuring things very frequently. And I agree that some of these things don't make a whole lot of sense to measure. But if I, for example, look at even genomics, it's a lot of measurements. And a lot of them are not very useful right now. But I think they will become useful. Once we collect this data over time, they will become useful. If I look at images used to be just on a piece of film, not very accessible. Then they got digitized, but still not very accessible. Now with what we know about machine learning and computer vision, images are becoming useful quantitative data. So a lot of things, I think, very recently, they are changing or they have changed, that would change the nature of medicine. And I know that big data is overhyped and used many, many times, and maybe people are tired of this term, but I actually do believe the quantitative part of medicine and how we look at data and the size is beyond a human, definitely needs a machine, will make medicine look very different in the coming years.
Well, I think you bring up an excellent point, and it goes back to where we started the panel with Walter, and that is, there are going to be better ways to data on each human being, this high definition human being, than we have today, and it's in progress, and it's happening fast. And so I think that the idea of having more frequent assessments of assays is gonna be real. They're not all available yet. But again, let's go back to Walter.